You really thought this might be it. Maybe you didn't say it out loud, but deep down you had already started to picture a future with this person. The way they looked at you, the late-night conversations, the shared jokes, the only you understand me like this moments. You didn't just like them, you had begun to attach. You noticed how your phone lit up and your heart did that tiny jump when you saw their name. You shared parts of your story you don't tell just anyone. You let them see the real, unfiltered you a little more each time. There was a moment where something in you said, maybe this is my person. You prayed about it. You weren't reckless. You tried to bring God into it. Lord, if this is you, breathe on it. If this is not you, block it. You didn't want to move just by feelings. You didn't want to stay in something God wasn't in. And then the strangest thing happened. The door didn't slam in your face all at once. It got stuck. Important conversations never really happened. Or they started, and then somehow always went sideways. When you tried to go deep, something always interrupted. Someone called. They got tired. The topic got brushed off. Plans you both made kept falling through. Misunderstandings piled up in the middle of what felt like a real connection. You started to feel like you were always 2 inches away from clarity that never came. They pulled back, or you pulled back, or life created a gap neither of you seemed able to bridge. Maybe they chose someone else. Maybe they ghosted. Maybe the connection just slowly faded until you were staring at your phone realizing we don't talk anymore. Maybe there was a sudden, sharp ending, a truth exposed, a line crossed, a situation that made it obvious you couldn't continue. Either way, you're here now with a heart that feels like it ran full speed into a glass wall. You replay everything, every conversation, every sign, every maybe if I had said this instead. You wonder, did I not pray enough? Did I mishear God? Did I sabotage this? Was I not patient enough? Too emotional? Too distant? You feel rejected, embarrassed, like you misread them, misread yourself, maybe even misread God. It almost feels cruel that your feelings got that involved, your hopes got that high, only for the whole thing to freeze or fall apart. But what if that stuck door, that slow drift, that painful ending was not evidence that God ignored your prayer, but proof that he answered it very precisely? What if what you've been calling the one that got away is actually the one God stepped in front of to protect your future? What if that blocked relationship is not a sign that you are unlovable, but a sign that your heart, your healing, and your future are under serious destiny protection? This is the lens we're going to look through today. God blocked that relationship to protect your destiny. If, while I'm talking, a specific face or name keeps coming to your mind, just take a slow breath with me. Inhale, hold, and exhale gently. You don't have to pretend this didn't matter. You don't have to act like it was no big deal just because it didn't end in an official title or a public breakup. Your heart doesn't need paperwork to feel pain. You loved in the way you knew how. You tried to do it right this time. You tried to listen to God. You tried to be gracious, patient, understanding, and still the door closed, or stayed half open, half shut, until you couldn't live in that in-between anymore. Here, you don't have to minimize that. You're allowed to say, it hurts that it ended. It hurts that they didn't choose me. It hurts that it never even became clear what we really were. God can handle that honesty. He knew you'd feel this before you even met them. This space is not for bashing them or shaming you. It's for seeing what God might have been doing in the very place you only saw silence and shut doors. In this video, we're going to talk about how divine protection can look like unanswered messages, canceled plans, distance that wouldn't close, and endings that came sooner than your heart wanted. We'll talk about how God removed them not because you lacked value, but because this was not your person, not your match, and your destiny is too important to build around someone who cannot hold it with you. We'll walk through red flags, lack of peace, repeated patterns, subtle warnings, and how this separation season might actually be a spiritual message over your life, a chosen one's message that says, you will not be thrown into just any bond. You are being guarded for something more aligned. If your heart feels exposed but also somehow seen, you can gently acknowledge it. You can type, he blocked it to protect me, or I received destiny protection, not to perform, but as a quiet yes between you and God. Stay with me if you can. You deserve more than just move on. You deserve to understand what may have been happening behind this blocked relationship. Let's walk back into the story as it really was. Not the version you give people when they ask, so what happened with you two? And you shrug and say, it just didn't work out. The real version. There was a day when they were just a person in your world. Then slowly, they became the person. The one your mind checked for in every room, on every list, in every scroll. You noticed the little things, how they remembered small details you'd said, how they laughed at the same things, how they opened up in a way that made you feel trusted. You started feeling like you could breathe around them. Something in you thought, with them, maybe I'm not too much. Maybe I'm not too weird. Maybe I'm actually seen. You were cautious at first. You told yourself, don't jump ahead. Don't plan your whole life off a good conversation. But after a while it got harder not to hope. You prayed. You asked friends to pray. You tested your own heart. You didn't want to force it. You also didn't want to ignore what seemed like a real connection. So you stepped in bit by bit. You shared more of your past. You brought them into your present. You began to picture a shared future, even if you never said it out loud. Then the kinks started to show. Little flakes of rust on what you were sure was gold. Moments where you needed them and they were too busy. Moments where their words didn't match their actions. Moments where you felt confused but didn't want to rock the boat. You chalked it up to stress, timing, misunderstandings. You gave second chances, and third, and one more after that. Because you saw their potential. You saw their heart. You saw the good in them and you focused on that. You told yourself, every relationship has issues. Nothing will be perfect. If I just love them well, if we just get through this phase, it'll settle. But instead of settling, things stayed unsettled. Some days, they felt all in, calling, checking on you, sharing deep things. Other days, they went distant, short responses, no initiative, energy that made you feel like a burden. You lived on an emotional roller coaster of hope one week, confusion the next. It was exhausting. You started to wonder, is this what love is supposed to feel like? Always on edge? Always reading between the lines? And under it all, another question lurked. If I let this go, will anything better ever come? Or is this my only real shot at connection? So you stayed as long as you could. You adjusted. You over-explained to be understood. You shrank parts of yourself to be acceptable. You prayed harder. God, fix us, heal this, change them, change me, just don't let this die. And then, in one way or another, it did. Maybe slowly, like a plant, you kept watering that just kept drooping, no matter what you did. Maybe suddenly a cutoff, a revelation, a decision that left you stunned. Either way, you ended up on the other side of us with more questions than closure. You watched them keep living, posting, laughing, maybe already talking to someone new. Meanwhile, you were left with the invisible bruises of a bond that never fully became what you thought it could. You're not just sad it ended. You're sad you believed so deeply in something that didn't last. That's the ache you carry quietly. The one that whispers, I must be the common denominator. I must have done something to make God say no. But what if his no was much less about your failure and much more about your future? Let's do something brave. Let's look back not to shame you, not to dissect every detail, but to spot where God might have already been stepping in with quiet, steady destiny protection. Because when God blocks, it almost never feels good in the moment, but it is often deep mercy in disguise. Here are signs this blocked relationship was actually divine protection over your heart and future. 1. Your peace kept flickering, no matter how hard you tried to stabilize it. Think about it. You had moments where things felt beautiful, inside jokes, shared vulnerability, real sweetness. And yet, underneath, there was often a low hum of anxiety. You checked your phone more than you used to. You overanalyzed gaps in communication. You felt nervous being honest because you weren't sure what it would cost. Your body felt it. Knots in your stomach before seeing them. Tension in your shoulders after long conversations. Headaches from thinking too much about what they meant. You labeled it overthinking. But what if that inner disturbance was your spirit saying, "This is not resting place. This is not home." God doesn't shame you for wanting them, but He will advocate for your peace even against your preference. That flickering peace was an early sign of destiny protection. 2. The relationship required constant explaining, but very little understanding. How many times did you have to clarify what you meant? How many times did you walk away thinking, they still don't really get it? They still don't really see me? You made long messages to be as clear as possible. You gave them context. You owned your mistakes. And yet, you still ended up feeling misunderstood, dramatic, too much. Real connection doesn't mean no misunderstandings. But when God is in it, there will be a shared desire to truly understand one another, not just defend ourselves. If it always felt like you were the one working to keep communication alive while they mostly did damage control, that imbalance was a red flag. God saw it, even when you excused it. He knew if this kept going, you'd spend years explaining, and very little time being truly understood. So, He blocked. 3. You saw patterns you've seen before, just with a different face. Look back at your past relationships, situations, almosts. Does any of this sound familiar? Feeling like you care more than the other person, being almost official but never fully chosen, ignoring your own needs to hold the connection together. Sometimes, God will allow you to feel the weight of a pattern in one concentrated season so clearly that you finally say, "I can't do this anymore. I can't repeat this for the next decade." This blocked relationship may have been the moment He said, "Enough. We're breaking this cycle here, not as punishment, but as protection." Destiny protection does not just guard you from people. It also guards you from repeating stories that keep you small, confused, and spiritually tired. 4. When you got closer to them, you got further from yourself and from God. Be honest with yourself. What happened to your relationship with God while this was building? Did you start drifting from your spiritual rhythms, praying less because you were always texting, processing, or daydreaming? Did you find yourself less honest with God about how unstable it felt because you were afraid His answer might be no? And what about your own self, your interests, your boundaries, your friendships? Did they all shrink to make room for this person? Destiny protection sometimes looks like God saying, "I will not let you trade your relationship with me for a relationship with them. I will not let you lose yourself again to keep something that cannot keep you." That's not cruelty. That's fierce, tender love. 5. The more you showed your true self, the less secure the connection felt. At first, it might have felt safe. You showed them a side of you don't show everyone. But as time went on, you started noticing that the more honest you were, the shakier it got. You shared your fears. They withdrew. You set a boundary. They got irritated or distant. You shared a conviction God was growing in you. They teased or downplayed it. The real you made them uncomfortable. God, on the other hand, is obsessed with the real you. He will not tie your destiny to someone who only loves the edited version of who you are. This is why He will sometimes allow things to fall apart, right at the point where you begin to step into your authenticity. Not because you ruined it by being real, but because that relationship could not stay intact and have you be true at the same time. And He will always choose your wholeness over your illusion of security. 6. Every attempt to restart or fix it hit the same invisible wall. Maybe you tried to talk again, tried to be friends, tried to go back to how it was. For a moment, it felt possible. The familiarity kicked in. The old chemistry sparked a little. Then, almost immediately, the same issues surfaced. The same distance, the same confusion, the same misalignment. It felt like no matter how many times you tried to reset, you always ended back at the same stuck place. That repeated stuckness was a kind of divine do not enter sign. God was blocking through repetition what you were trying to reopen through hope. There's a kind of mercy in that. He didn't let you rewrite the story. He let the true story keep showing itself until you couldn't deny it. 7. After it ended, your spirit felt both broken and strangely lighter. You may still be heartbroken. You may still cry when you think about them. But if you're very honest, is there also a kind of underlying lightness? Do you notice you can breathe a little deeper than when you were constantly trying to hold it together? Do you find your thoughts a little less chaotic without their mixed signals filling your mind? That hidden lightness is not proof that you didn't really love them. It's proof that part of you is relieved to be out of a story that was quietly wearing you down. That's where destiny protection becomes visible. Your heart may miss them. Your spirit knows you couldn't stay. Now, let's step into the healing. Because understanding why God blocked it is one thing. Letting that truth heal the story you tell about yourself is another. We're going to talk about who you are on this side of the closed door and what God is doing in you as part of your destiny protection. 1. You are not the one who wasn't enough. You are the one God refused to discount. Your mind has been trying to calculate your worth based on their reaction. If I was more this, less that, maybe they would have stayed. But their capacity to show up was never meant to be your mirror. God saw your value before they did. God saw your weaknesses and your strengths, your patterns and your progress, and still decided you were worth guarding. He looked at your destiny, the healing hairs leading you into, the future assignments and relationships ahead of you, and said, I will not let this heart that I paid so much for stay tied to something that keeps it doubting its worth. His no was not a verdict on your desirability. It was a statement about your value, and the story Hess still writing. 2. You are allowed to grieve deeply and still be protected. Those two can exist together. You can be God-protected and heartbroken at the same time. You can know this ending was right and still feel like it ripped something out of you. That doesn't mean you're lacking faith. It means you're human. Bring that grief into your time with God. Don't only say, thank you for protecting me. Also say, it hurts that you had to. It hurts that it came to this. It hurts that I loved, and it still had to end. He can sit with you in both realities. Your tears are not evidence you don't trust him. They're evidence that your heart was truly in it, and he cares about that. 3. Let this be the last time you call a blocked door proof you're unlovable. You've walked through too many seasons interpreting closed doors as if not enough. This moment is an invitation to learn a new language. Next time a door closes, you won't just automatically say, I failed. You'll pause and ask, God, was this another destiny protection moment? Is this you shielding me from something I can't yet see? This doesn't remove the pain, but it will slowly remove the shame. You are not walking catastrophe. You are not a romantic curse. You are a person whose life is under supervision from a father who knows how fragile your heart has been and refuses to leave it unguarded. 4. Receive the upgrade in your standards without turning bitter. This blocked relationship has taught you something about what you truly need. You need consistency. You need clarity. You need peace. You need honesty. You need shared direction. Those are not unreasonable demands. They are healthy standards. You don't need to respond by saying, he'll never open up again. He'll never trust anyone again. That's not protection. That's self-imprisonment. Instead, you can say, I will open up again when I see fruit that matches God's heart for me. When I see someone who can have hard conversations, honor my boundaries, seek God with me, and doesn't make me earn basic security. This is how your destiny protection turns into destiny wisdom. You're not hardening, you're maturing. 5. Let God speak to the part of you that's afraid there won't be better. Somewhere inside, there's a voice saying, what if that was my only shot? What if no one else will ever see me like that? What if I let go of something good and there's nothing else coming? God is not offended by that fear. He knows how tired your heart is, but he also knows he is more creative than your history. He has seen every person you haven't met yet. He knows what kind of partner, community, and support will actually align with who you're becoming. You don't have to fully believe in better is coming today. You just have to be willing to not call this blocked story the last chance. Leave room for the possibility that the same God who blocked what would have wounded you is able also to provide what will build you. 6. Pay attention to the new space in your heart and life. When a relationship ends, it leaves behind time, emotional energy, mental focus. Right now, that space feels like ache, but that space is also potential. Ask God, what do you want to grow in this space that used to be filled with them? Maybe it's a deeper walk with Him. Maybe it's healing work you never had time to face. Maybe it's creativity you had put on hold. Maybe it's friendships you abandoned to make room for this one person. Destiny protection is never just about what's taken away. It's also about what now has room to grow. 7. Let this become part of your testimony, not your identity. You are not defined by the one who got left. You are not forever the one whose relationship didn't work. This is a chapter, not the title. Over time, when the sting softens, you will be able to say, yes, there was someone I cared deeply about. It ended. I thought he'd break. But that closed door was also the moment God took me seriously when I asked Him to protect my destiny. He blocked it, He held me through it, and He kept writing my story after it. That is a chosen one's message, not that you never get hurt, but that even what hurt is held inside a larger, wiser plan. Take one last deep breath with me. Inhale, hold, and slowly exhale. You may still miss them. You may still have questions you wish you could ask. You may still have moments where your heart reaches for what used to be. That's okay. Healing is not a straight line. It's a gentle loop of remembering, releasing, remembering, releasing again. But now, as you remember, you can hold a new layer of truth. God blocking that relationship was not a statement that you're hard to love. It was a statement that you are too deeply loved to be left in something that would quietly steal your peace, blur your purpose, and drain you dry. That's destiny protection. When you prayed, God, if this is not from you, block it. He heard you. He acted even in ways you didn't recognize as kindness at the time. If this spoke to your heart, you can write in the comments, He blocked it to protect my destiny, or I choose to trust His protection, not to perform, but as a small, brave yes to the way He's guarding you. You're welcome to subscribe, save this, or come back to it on the nights you feel tempted to romanticize what ended, to blame yourself again, or to reopen doors God already locked for your good. Let these words remind you why the door closed. For now, rest in this. You are not too much. You are not enough. You are not the one love keeps skipping. You are deeply loved, deliberately protected, and carefully guided by a God who will block what is not truly yours so that, in time, He can lead you into connections that honor who you really are and where you're really going. You are not being punished. You are being protected. Your destiny is still safe in His hands. And even here, in the ache of what ended, He is closer than you think, sitting with you in the quiet, holding the pieces you're afraid to touch, already knowing how to turn this blocked story into a healed one.